We might have ourselves a quicker show today.
Really? Why is that?
I don't know. This seems like a fairly quick topic. We'll see.
Could be. There we go. I adjusted the image and hit start recording all at the same time. So
there we go.
This is episode 70. So cheers. We did something.
Cheers. I have no drink today.
That's fine.
No beverage to crack. Nothing.
Nothing.
No ASMR.
I got my fancy pumpkin beer and my fancy pumpkin beer glass.
Look at that.
Yeah.
That looks delicious, actually. And I'm not kind of a frou-frou beer kind of guy, but stick to my lagers. But yeah, I look good.
It's a good one. Southern Tier Pumpkin. I like my. I don't know if I like frou-frou beers, but I like everything pumpkin.
Yeah.
Like so, card carrying white girl right here. We got this.
That's a basic bitch.
Wait, hold on. Let me Taylor Swift
I love
concert picture up. Let me just change that size. So it's just nope, that's the wrong image. I think I'd be good at this eventually, Neil. Huh? Is that it? Nope, that's not it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing Warhammer for 30 years.
There we go. There we go.
I guess it doesn't have to go that route.
Let's enjoy my pumpkin flavored drink with Taylor Swift to the side of us. There we go. Oh, jeez, it's 70. So how's it feel? Like I said, we're not at 100 yet, but we're well past the point of where most podcasts quit.
Well past. I believe that's 10 episodes.
Yeah. Well, we got to 10 a few times before we started tracking it, right? So.
Right.
We're good. But yeah, it might be a quick episode tonight, which means we might get to catch Warhammer Weekly live tonight, or at least part of it. I don't know. They start at 9.
Are they late?
No, they start at 9 p.m. Eastern. It's about 8:19 as far as recording on a Wednesday night.
Okay.
So let's go in. Neil, how's the fitness been?
Nothing. I got no reports.
Okay.
Well, I'm a failure this week.
That's terrible. That's absolutely just atrocious. Oh, I've screwed up.
I ate a delicious donut this morning. That's I got nothing.
Well, I mean, I'm sitting here drinking a pumpkin beer, and I thought I'd be taking the month off of do like a no alcohol month. That didn't happen.
No.
But I am
not when there's going to be had.
No, but I am doing a lot less consciously. I'm trying to, especially because all the sweets and stuff are starting to come out, so I'm trying to treat it more of like a budget. I don't have a need to just cut it off, but I have a need to budget, kind of like you budget money. Let me budget my calories a little bit better. So I'm kind of taking that approach to it. It's going fine. My other fitness is I started an 8-week bodybuilding program, and that's fun. Bodybuilding programs are fun. They make you sore, they make you feel good, but they don't wreck you like a powerlifting one. I don't wake up feeling like, I wake up like, I did something. All right, gotta work this out.
Mm-hmm.
Do that for 8 weeks, because then shortly after is when Alex Fithammer and I are going to start a program we write to take us hopefully to a 500-pound deadlift over the following months.
Mm-hmm.
Just so I can say I did it.
There you
go. before I'm too old to do it.
So why I'm not participating.
There you go. All right. More importantly, because the fitness end is always just me. So more importantly, hobby, because we both participate in the hobby. Yeah. What's your hobby been like? How's it been?
I started painting a little commission for a friend of mine, John D, who I talk about quite a bit. He's the only one I'm doing commissions for at the moment. But it was I believe it was a Warcry warband of the vampires.
Oh, that was Warcry. No, that's Underworlds. Yeah.
Is it Underworlds? Okay.
Yep.
No, it's Underworlds, but so it's got the one lady vampire, the one vampire with the wings, one badass dude just kind of standing there with that big kind of like mace
Yeah.
pole arm, and then was the other guy who kind of stand there with the sword like that, you know.
Right.
So yeah, really really cool sculpts. I'm enjoying painting them.
Yeah,
So.
that's the warband that if anyone has a vampire army, they have 4 vampire lords on foot. Because
Right.
I don't think the war scroll for that unit's useful, but those sculpts are
No.
incredible.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, is that it? Is that all your hobby? No.
That's pretty much all my
Okay.
hobbies.
All
So,
right.
I mean, we recorded late last week,
Yeah,
right?
we
So,
did. That's true. That's true.
yeah, I haven't had a chance to get any games in or anything like that. Maybe Friday night, maybe. I don't
There you
know, maybe
go.
Saturday night, something like that. I actually got a free weekend, and then I'm going to work 16 out of 17 days in a row.
That sounds fun.
So,
So if
yeah.
you don't hear episode 71 in the next week or so, Neil's
Mhm.
working. It'll be fine. We're not 70 and done. Neil just might be busy. Maybe I'll see if I can guess come on since your time will be in premium. I don't want to take up
Yeah.
too much of that, but I would like to talk Warhammer with you.
Mhm.
Let's see my hobby. Oh boy. I went from 0 to 60 in like 2 days. I picked up 2 boxes of the Anvil Guard Start Collecting boxes from my local store because he gave me a deal on them.
Mhm.
Because I kept waffling, like, do I want to do Human Cities of Sigmar or do Dark Elf? And I had Dark Elf, and I was buying these boxes because it was such a good deal, and I could always use stuff for fantasy Dark Elves too.
Mm.
And I kept waffling, and I was like, okay, well, I'm building these things up. I'm putting some in fantasy already, and some of it I might do round basis. But I kept like stalling and stalling and stalling. But thankfully, my good friend Martin Orlando, which maybe I'll see if he wants to come on. I haven't had him on the show yet.
Mhm.
We could talk about this. He challenged me to a 750 point Cities of Sigmar game in November because he's going to the Grand Narrative 40K. He won a ticket at one of the events, and I'll obviously be
Right.
there to help run it. And essentially, because I need something to kick my butt into gear, and the only other event I have this year that I'm playing a game in is the Teyrathi, which
Mhm.
it's going to be Daughters of Cain or Dark Elves or Eldari. So like I have those armies. I don't need to rush those.
Mhm.
So this kind of kicked my butt into gear, and it as soon as he said it, like we started talking like a little random lore things here and there. It really just like focused my entire mind, and it made me make the choice. And I said, all right, what do I want? Like I can do a dark elf army, but is that what I want? Like, or I could take some of these dark elves, put them with my Daughters of Cain as allies, because you know like a unit of Blackguard with a sorceress is a nice 4-up ward thing to put into a daughter's army. So I was like, well, you know what? Let me do that. Take the rest of the stuff back to Fantasy Dark Elves, and let me do what arrived today, which is start a brand new cities army.
Nice,
Yep,
nice,
yep.
nice.
Arrived today.
Yeah,
I haven't even opened it yet. I thought if
gorgeous.
we didn't have a topic tonight, I would just be opening this on there and going through it with you, and you'd be sitting there like, I am bored fucking death.
No, no, no. I think it's cool.
Um, but yeah, and like I just like everything got focused real quick after that accepting of his challenge, and I said, all right, what have I always wanted from a city's army that never did? And then I think back, and if you're watching the very opening of this recording, you've seen the image. I'll bring it up now. Neil, do you remember the original? You gotta throw your mind back to 2016. We are
2016?
2016. We are way back in the day.
Sure. Okay.
Ah, there was the first Age of Sigmar Season of War. We finished up the
Yeah.
Realm Gate Wars.
Oh, I definitely know this. Yeah, this is when
Yep.
they did the competition thing, right? And you could put in your
Yep.
results and all that kind of fun stuff.
Like
Yeah.
painting, games, like lore.
That's actually where the Cities of Sigmar came from.
Correct, because this was the
Mhm.
Seeds of Hope. And
Yes.
I am going to do a whole video series on this. I'm gonna try to do different YouTube stuff than this podcast. So like I'll explain all this more in a YouTube video that'll be coming up in hopefully a week or so at most. But yeah, so we claimed Realm Gates from the Stormcast returning, and now it's like we need places to fucking live.
Yeah.
So the Seeds of Hope was set in Guyran, because Ilariel was there, and we were pushing back, and all 4 factions had stake in this to either establish a city for order, Possibly, I think established one for death was a potential one, and then chaos and destruction were just about destroying. Now, it helped that Order had like 1,000 armies at the time still.
Right, right,
So,
right. It was always going to be Order, right? Because at that
yeah,
point, I think they had one Death army. I think if I remember correctly, like the percentage of like Death was somewhere below 10.
yeah,
I
yeah. It
it was,
was. I actually looked. I had all the results screens and everything saved. But yeah, like 14% overall, like percentage of points were from death.
yeah.
It was mostly chaos and order.
Uh-huh.
And like it seemed close all the way up to the end, and then I remember even my one local group wasn't even like my local club. It was just my weekly game night, but not the barn that I do now, but like the game store.
Uh-huh.
We would play weekly, and I track all the games. And I was like the liaison. I was hanging stuff up, scenarios, because they would put out like randomly on Warcom, like here's a buff for order this week. Here's a buff for chaos this week. Like it was super cool, and I got a lot of people jazzed for Age of Sigmar.
Yeah.
It was really a fun time. So I thought back way back to then, like what was that all about? I was like finding a cities of Sigmar, and I never got to do what I thought would be cool, which is what's on screen right now. So there was three fronts: Greywater Fastness, Living City, and Phoenicia. And what it was is wherever you were from, your votes went for one of those cities. So essentially, there could be three order cities, one order city, two order. It was all up in the air.
Uh-huh.
UK was fighting for Greywater Fastness. Europe was fighting for Phoenicium. Rest in peace, Phoenicium, because it's no longer that. It's there, but it's not there.
Yeah.
And America fought for the Living City.
Mm-hmm.
So I got overly attached to the narrative and the lore of the Living City. So I've decided I'm going to do a Living City army. It's not going to be pure humans. It's going to be at least 75% humans, I bet. And I want to bring in a few elven allies. But what I'm doing is I'm going to buy the Dark Elf kit of like executioners, or let's say Blackguard, and I'm going to take. I have a bunch of Wood Elf bits. I'm going to take bits from that, so I'm going to blend it so it looks like Dark Elves who have adapted into the way of Gyran, essentially. So
Nice.
I'm gonna try instead of just finding Wood Elves and pulling those in. I want to try and adapt them in and make it like a nice theme and do the living moss over across the armor. So it's gonna be slow burn armor, but I am excited for it.
It'll
Very
be
much
interesting
so.
to see what you do with it. Hobby the hell out of that thing. That'll be awesome.
I'm gonna do my best. But before I do that, I'm rebasing most of my old cities of Sigmar back into Dark Elves, which I have some bases coming tomorrow to finish the last 30. That'll be done in like a couple days, and I have a few brand new models you can't see. Wait, there they are. There they are.
Yeah.
Yep, few more elves for fantasy to paint up. So those first, then this. But yeah, looking forward to it. It's gonna be a really fun time. And then I played some games, but really my mind is just all about this Cities of Sigmar thing right now. So that's
Yeah.
probably the most hobby you're gonna get out of me is talking about that crap.
How'd your games go? Did you win? Did you lose? What
Hmm.
happened?
Um. Actually, wait. No, did I get games in? Because we did record late. When did we record last? We did
Saturday
after
morning.
Saturday.
Yeah.
So actually, no, I haven't had any games since. Never mind. Scratch that.
Yeah.
I
There
have
we go.
games tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
But yeah. Moving on from there, then I guess it's time for the main topic, which, as you said, I think we are gonna have a shorter show.
Mm-hmm.
This is gonna be a discussion, a pro con discussion. Neither one of us are taking sides per se in the discussion. I think both of us we can state our opinion at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it popped up recently from Nova Open, and it's worth discussing. Discussing.
Sure. Sure it is. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's only an
Yeah.
8.6%, Neil. I'm fine.
Already
Ah,
slurred.
yeah.
You sloppy bitch.
Oh no. Um, Cash prizes in Warhammer,
Mm-hmm.
because it hasn't taken over the Twitter sphere, X sphere, whatever you want to call it. But I've seen people remark on it because there was a cash prize associated. I don't know if it was for the Invitational or for the GT per se. But still,
Mm.
like generally speaking, because it does exist in 40K for ITC, um, cash prizes for Warhammer. What do we think about that? What the goods, the bads? This isn't like an angry rant. This is not us doing anything other than just pros and cons and stating our opinions because we have a podcast, so we will state our opinion.
Sure.
Yeah,
Do you want my my overall opinion of it?
yeah. Go overall opinion. Yeah.
Overall opinion, I'm not super in favor of it. I don't know. I think it kind of yeah. I hate to see my game of toys and my escape from, you know, real life get taken overly seriously, you know?
Fair.
And I don't know. I would just I if you're in a tournament, the people take it seriously enough as it is already. But if you're in a tournament and everybody's there shooting for, whatever it might be, $1,000, $2,000, we'll say something worth actually getting, right? Um, Maybe even more. Maybe it gets popular to the point where you can pull in 10 grand at one of these huge things. I don't know, but that to me it gets a little bit too. There's competitive and then there's professional, right? And
Mm-hmm.
we're pushing the professional at that point. I would hope if it ever did go that way that it would be a separate kind of circuit, because it's not something that I want to play in. But
Sure.
that's my opinion on it.
No,
So
and yeah, that's a very valid, and that seems to be the general opinion I've seen of people speaking about it per se, on Twitter, and that's perfectly valid. And to be fair, I probably shared that like a couple years ago fully. I'm still, the more I thought about it, because like there's always like the it depends. That's to be fair, the answer to most questions in the world. The first answer should be it depends. A few
mhm,
things are not,
mhm,
but we all know what those ones are usually. Um,
yeah,
but for me, I look at this as it's an inevitability. It, I trying to think, it's going to happen.
as popularity increases,
Popularity
you know,
increases as we all strive to push for this to become more mainstream and more. Um,
it is a game. There are
yeah,
winners, there are losers.
we're playing in
So
a tournament. Yes, exactly.
right, I'm sure at some point football was just a couple kids playing in the backyard having a great time, right?
I
And
mean,
now
that's probably how cricket started. Because
now
yeah,
billions of dollars get thrown around. Billions
exactly,
and billions of dollars.
exactly. I truly believe it's inevitable. And it's one of those things too where I caution, it's like, okay, well, if you're against it, it's good to speak out against it to make sure things stay restrained. To me, it's kind of like that meme of like, open the gate, close the gate, open the gate a little. Like that's like yeah, that's kind of I feel where I'm at because I'm not going to name names, but I've seen a few folks who are against it saying like, no, I don't want cash prizes. But and this isn't all of them. Some people are against it, but they were very willing to give out the golden ticket that Games Workshop's putting out, which
Right.
is essentially just a cash voucher to come to an event.
Yeah.
So like you have
Well,
to like I mean
that's the other thing. Anytime you at any event, anytime you have any type of prize support,
yeah,
it has a monetary equivalent, right? But it's
right,
not cash, right? When I receive cash, I know exactly what I'm getting. I know what
right,
the prize is. I know that I can take that money and then put it to whatever I want. If I get a box of Cities of Sigmar and I have no interest in Cities of Sigmar, it's nice that I want it, but it also has a monetary value. And if I want to turn around, throw it out on eBay and make some money off of it, well,
sure.
then I guess I just had a cash prize, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's something very much different about having the cash prizes. This is
Right.
why I would also say just a little interlude here. Why I always push for random prize support.
Yes. Oh, yes. I
So
no, I'm with you on that. I like random prize support. To be fair, my biggest gripe about cash prizes is keep the fucking government out of my money. I don't want them to know I got that money. Fuck you.
yeah,
Um, like,
right.
like it's that's weird that that's my heart of why I don't want it because I don't want to fucking report that on my taxes. Fuck you, government. Um,
Uh,
but I do think there's good and bad things that could come of it. and I think people have a gut reaction to it. And I'm
Hmm.
not saying the gut reaction is wrong, but I'm saying the gut reaction isn't fully thought out. But that gut reaction too, I've seen probably both sides of that. Like, yeah, we should absolutely have it. How else are we supposed to grow? It's like, okay. So one thing I will state, because like I look at things in the video game space, which we're trying to, in essence, emulate esports in a way, tabletop sports, however you want to call it.
Sure.
The issue with that is video games can be updated quicker. Video games tend to be quicker interactions. Granted, Evo, the biggest uh, like fighting game tournament that happens across all every year, like there was like 7,000 people in the tournament for Street Fighter 6. That was
Hmm.
that was longer than to get through all those people, which is like you do a set of 3 matches, best of, until like the final. So like that took longer than like I think it was 4 days or something like that. It was incredible. And you have tons of
Yeah.
TOs and all these people, and like even a lot of those people are volunteers. Some are getting paid, but um,
Hmm.
that is one thing I would say. If cash prizes start to be involved, then people who are your staff should be paid. I will
Yeah.
say that. Um,
Mhm. And as a result of that, your price for admission is going to go up.
Absolutely. I mean that's all completely fair if that's the route to be taken. But there is concern that tabletop wargaming is not in a state, or maybe it's just not a good avenue to pursue for a cash prize style tournament. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure that like that. I'm stating a potential issue that let's just use Age of Sigmar because that's what we're gonna talk about. That maybe Age of
Right.
Sigmar isn't good, um, because it can't be balanced well. It can be too
Yeah.
one-sided. It can be. Some people might view an army as pay to win for
Well, let's look at right. One of the biggest esports things, at least in my time anyway, has been StarCraft. Right. I mean,
Mhm.
huge thing in Korea. Right. I mean, played in stadiums, whatever. What do you have? You have 3 races. How many do you have in Warhammer? I don't even
Oh,
know. It's in the teens, right? It's in the teens
it's
somewhere.
probably 20s.
Okay,
Yeah.
so and probably in the 20s.
Yeah.
I mean, and then you have all the combinations of the possible things you could do within those armies. And so the ability to make something fair,
Right.
right? Um, what you would eventually, I won't even say that. It's going to be very hard to
Well,
turn that into such a competitive thing that you could push it as the same style.
very very true.
Um,
Even take the armies out of it. Take the armies out of it. So if you look at what are good tournaments for cash prizes right now, I mean chess and video games. That's League of
mhm,
Legends, Street Fighter, whatever you want. If you want to take the basic of all that, is to take like like you could say, oh, chess is balanced 'cause it's the same pieces, but you can't say Street Fighter is balanced because it's different characters. But
right,
every video game and every chessboard you start out with the same neutral state,
right.
which is this board, this setting, and it's balanced. It is balanced as far as like a state to play the game on to see if you win the game.
Mhm.
Sigmar, it depends on the event, but like, even at the US Open, it was hard for us to get to a point, and even still, it's not exactly like I'm not copy and pasting all those tables. There might be
Uh-huh.
like the shapes and everything will be the same, but like maybe the nuances are slightly different.
Right.
And that's with GW throwing the money at us and sending us the stuff to make their events as competitive as possible, because that's kind of like the goal. Um,
Yeah.
Not every tournament's gonna be able to do that, so
Mhm.
that's a con for sure. Like if the neutral state isn't the same across the entire board, at least for that tournament, it makes it kind of puts a check in the negative box for me.
Yeah.
Positive though, I guess we can go back and forth. A positive I find is if you had cash prizes, you could see a greater evolution of the people who could maybe compete to win those cash prizes, who could then use that as a way to supplement their living, and then
Mhm.
use that to promote the game, the skill set, and other great things about this, and make the audience become even bigger.
Yeah.
Like I mean, right now, if you want to have somebody that wanted to promote that sort of stuff, you better hope that they don't have a hard job, or they just have
Mhm.
more money they know what to do with.
Right. Yeah, sure. You know. I mean, you look at pick whatever sports league that isn't super popular right now, right? If you get a superstar in there that can promote. Oh, okay, here's a great example. MLS, Major League Soccer, which I'm invested in, but a lot of people are not.
Hmm.
All of a sudden, Messi's here, right?
Yeah, everyone's paying attention.
And
The news won't shut up about it.
everyone's paying
Everyone.
attention. In fact, I saw something today that Messi is going to play LAFC, right? So in Los Angeles, Beyonce's there. She's not sold out. That game is sold out, and the tickets are going for $1,000 a seat.
Yep.
So
Yep.
so
Yeah.
to your point, yes, that can make the thing more popular, 100%. When you get a face to something, and it certainly can grow.
Right, and especially too, like if you had somebody, like, and it's hard right now. It's like we do have those faces in a way. Granted, they're not as reliant upon having that face to maintain anything. They know their skill set and they're good people and they're fun to hang around with, but they don't have to post on social media. They don't have to go out and do this. But like if you were making a living off of it, you would. So like there's it'd be promotion of I think the game as a whole and even the community to a point, if you had that. Now let's go back and maybe another con, which I think it's an easy one, is running into those people at the tournament who are there just like, but they're granted they're already kind of there,
Yeah,
but people are
sure.
just there to win and they just want to go win that money. And it's like, and they're not playing within the spirit of what we love about Warhammer.
Right. When I sit down to a Warhammer table, what I'm hoping to see is like, the battlefield be like a moment in time kind of thing, right? Or a place or something like that. Because I'm fighting a fantasy battle across this terrain, right? When you start talking about like tables set up exactly the same table to table to table to table to table to table to nothing's different, right? So that we can promote the competitiveness of it as much as possible. Ooh, that's gross to me. But that's but I mean, to some people that's exactly what they want, right?
Right.
Because they're trying to test their skill. I get that. That's and then again, I think you solve that by just making sure that you have a separate tournament. I don't know, brackets, second tournament.
Well,
What do you call it? Like in racing,
no,
circuit.
I think circuit, yeah. No, and I think that would be absolutely, because like, yeah, I don't want my local event to be a tournament or it's cash prize. Maybe you throw in money and you get like store voucher. Like that's technically cash, but like you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Like not
a
like I don't want my
bunch of my
local.
tournaments had that. Yeah,
Yeah. But that's also supporting the store, so that's a weird loophole. But we're all kind of okay with that technically being money.
right.
But yeah, I don't want my locals, and I don't want every event. Like I mean, because there's some that blur lines. Like look at NashCon we just went to. That's a
Yeah,
very blurred between narrative and competitive. It's competitive, but the tables are very narrative focused.
right, right.
And it's where does that line get drawn? Um,
I was trying to think of like what is a prize that you could win at a tournament that does not have a monetary value, and I think kind of like a trophy, honestly, like a trophy.
yeah,
Who wants somebody else's trophy, really? I mean,
no,
like or any trophy for something that you didn't win. It's not very
unless
right.
unless you're Michael Jordan and you want to give up one of your rings for like something as like you know
Well,
what I mean? But
sure,
like that requires
sure, and that's back with
money.
diamonds, yeah.
Yeah, that's back to yeah,
But it's like NashCon, right? Their trophies were one was a claymore, like an actual real
yep,
claymore. Now it
yep,
did have some engraving on it, right? But at the same time, like
yep.
that's definitely got a monetary value to somebody, even with the engraving on it, right? It's still something pretty cool to have. So, um,
Right, but
yeah,
yeah, but like I mean, like locally for me, like I do certificates or I might do like some sort of like resin trophy thing.
mhm,
Sure, that's fine. But also, it's yeah, there is a difference between getting prizes and something that's worth money and then just getting money, and I completely get that.
yeah,
Um, but like I said, I think the money aspect is probably just inevitable. I don't know how quick it's going to be,
mhm.
and I do hope that whoever gets in charge of that, whenever it starts taking off, is somebody who's on the up and up. Because boy, there could be that's the last thing this hobby needs is money laundering.
Right. Yeah. Well, the bigger the tournaments get, the more popular they get, the
Right.
larger the size they get, the more money they're bringing in.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I mean, you're going to have bigger, better prizes. That already happens, right? You go to a bigger tournament, they have more prize support. They
Right.
just do. So
And
what matters is like how they handle that, and that kind of kind of shows you what the tone of the event is.
right, and also it kind of comes down to as well, like if you've ever like been lucky enough in my life to have seen the P&Ls from some major tournaments, like some of the biggest ones. And obviously won't disclose any of that, but everyone will think like, oh, they're making money here, they're making money here. Some of them are running, actually, most of them are running very lean. Like, there's a
Right.
reason they're not getting the volunteers because they're trying to just make as much money as possible. They're getting volunteers because they literally can't pay anybody because the venue costs so damn much.
Oh yeah, that's always the problem.
So
Right.
it's that's another thing, but also that comes back to raising ticket prices, and then what's the
Yeah.
how much can the community handle and eat and all that. So like you're already, if you're trying to do cash prizes, you're probably going to try and get some people paid along the way,
Uh,
and it's just going to cost more and more and more and more, or people get less and less and less. And like you go to like an Adepticon and you don't get your swag bag for the same ticket price. Maybe people won't like that. It's going to be a very interesting growth to see how
I
this
mean,
goes.
nobody's gonna want to hear this, but I mean, like, honestly, if you go look at the prices of things in this world and the time you spend at that thing, right? Okay, a 1 day tournament could easily cost $80.
Yeah.
Okay, if you go to the movies and you buy the popcorn and the pop and you get your ticket for a couple people, you're there for 2 hours and you've just run up $50. Okay, easy $50.
You go
If
to a Taylor
you're
Swift concert.
yeah, right. I mean,
Move
that's
on,
an
move on.
extreme example, right?
Yeah.
But like, you go to a Warhammer event and you're there for just 3 games in a day. You get there at 8 o'clock. You don't get done till 5:30. That's all the experience, right?
Yep.
Is within those hours.
And
That's
that's not counting
$80 is
the prep work of having the tables ready and looking good.
right. I mean, that's cheap, really, for your time that you're investing compared to something else that you might be doing with your time. $80 would be cheap. And most of these tournaments, you're going to see like a $50-$60 entry fee for a 2-dayer, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe it's starting to creep up now a little bit more, but I mean, that's $50-$60 for 2 days of fun. You don't find that very many places anymore,
No.
and that's why these events run so lean. Having been a TO myself, and you, of course, know this as well. Usually you run a deficit on those kind of things because you want to include people. So
Right. So I guess technically con in essence of like costs of things going up. But how do you solve that with, and this probably falls more into the pro side of things. You get sponsors. If your name gets out there big and you start putting out big cash prizes, guess what? You'll have other companies that'll be like, throwing in money to sponsor it. Now, granted, this is a smaller niche community with wargaming. We have
Yeah.
smaller mom and pop owned,
Right.
what's the word? Stores. I don't know why I couldn't find that word.
FLGSs or whatever,
Yeah,
but they're running pretty lean themselves,
even
right? So
sponsors.
for them to offer cash, right? That's tough
Let's
for them too.
take two that come to mind: Artis Opus and Magnet Baron. You see them at almost every major event, and I see them sponsor YouTube channels,
Mhm.
which means they're doing well, and that's great to see. But I don't think either one of those companies is willing to like give $5,000 to a tournament to help towards their, not yet.
Right.
But it's kind of like the chicken before the egg. As you start doing it, it can get bigger and bigger and bigger. But
Mhm.
it's not going to be big enough that people are going to really notice it until it's that big already, because you have to work towards it. It's not going to just start at that level. Listen,
Mhm.
unless Elon Musk comes in here and says, you know what, fuck Mars, we are going to make sure Warhammer is the most competitive cash money scene you've
Oh,
ever thought
God.
you'd exist.
Yeah.
Uh, but also at the same time, you get sponsors like that doesn't mean we can't get like, I there's if you look at like I said, I'm gonna keep going Street Fighter since that was the most recent one I saw other than Warhammer. You get food companies, you get soft drinks. They're willing to sponsor players who are good.
Yeah.
Not only they'll sponsor players, but they'll sponsor events. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
Nova
Right.
Open 2027 brought to you by Coca-Cola. Like,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah. So you can bring your own rum and put it into your Coke, so
No, that's right. We should get
yeah.
Bacardi. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, actually, that's who should sponsor Warhammer events is some sort of liquor. So,
No, but it's like I said, this is why I'm torn. I'm such on the point that it's inevitability.
mm,
Kind of like with the whole ITC thing. Like you remember that whole when like the Midwest was very against it, and I'm not going to
mm,
go into that debate. That's fine. Everyone has their reasons. It's all valid, all fine. But the
yeah,
thing I would always kind of not preach, but I would say like get involved in it so you can dictate it when it becomes so big that
yeah.
it's unleashed no matter
You
what.
either deal with it or you're out, right? You know.
Right, and to be honest, we've reached that point. It's
Uh,
here. It's like every place is using it to some level. Not every place, but like most places, the bigger things are using it to some level.
yeah. And
And
if
if
it's
you
not going to be this, then it'll be something official that comes out very much like it.
sure, yeah, and if you
So,
don't have a say in it when it's in its infancy, don't expect to have a say in it when it's this unleashed beast. So,
mm,
not saying that you need to go out and give prize support and cash money, but I'm saying you
mhm,
need to. This is a weird one. I'm saying if you have an opinion on this, you need to voice it in a proper manner, and also do the whole thing, vote with your feet. I guess you can always do that cliche term that I'm
right.
tired of fucking hearing. Sorry,
Mhm,
like I just want another. I'm not saying that saying is wrong. I'm saying I'm tired of saying it that way.
yeah. Yep. I mean, I couldn't agree more. So, any other positives or negatives you can think of with this?
Let's see positives. I say growth, ability for people to make it technically a way of life, like
Mhm.
living, which and some people do already in a different way through YouTube content.
To be perfectly honest, now that I sit here and I think about it too, I'm not sure it wouldn't be better for less competitive players for the to happen. Because if you have a separate circuit that you're not concerned about any of that kind of stuff, then you're starting to play in an arena with very like-minded people, right?
Fair.
So, I mean, could that be taken advantage of? And somebody who's trying to get up to the next level just goes in there and beats face to cut their teeth? Sure. I mean, that's there's no stopping that. But overall, I think you wonder, is a more casually competitive environment, does that come out of having a separate circuit that is not driven by money and competition? I don't know.
It
Could that be a good thing?
it
Possibly.
it very well could be like an amateur circuit and a pro circuit, and the amateur circuit's the fun one. And like you said, there's gonna be people that rush through it and beat face, but
Mhm.
they'll move out quick. They have to move up to the pro circuit. But then
Right.
there's also that's another interesting thing about if you become a pro, can you even play in the amateur circuits anymore? And then how do you split that up? Which I think you should be able to. Like an amateur pro things, I don't think that works in like the esports, tabletop sports type of world. I
Mhm.
think it's more of you need to have different levels
Right.
and
I wouldn't call it amateur. I would call it there's casual and then there's competitive, right?
well, it's
So somebody who's competitive could go play in a casual tournament and be casual,
but
right?
someone
In
who's
Warhammer.
someone who's casual can play to compete too. Like that's not
Right. Right.
like
Yeah. So if
if
I want to
I
next time try to make my money, yeah.
right. Oh, well, here's the thing too. Like sometimes too, it's about seeing like where you can just place. Like if
Mhm.
and next year I'd like to go to Evo and jump in the Street Fighter 6 tournament. I don't expect to get it past round 1.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm not terrible. I can beat up some friends and have that stuff and do okay online, but like there's, you know, so much above me that's just going to destroy me. And I'll probably
Right.
run into it, but it'd be fun to just see. But like I think my expectations would be more set knowing what I'm going into, which
Mhm.
could be a thing too cuz like, you get those mid-table heroes that walk into an event going, "I'm going to win it all." I'm like, "Buddy, you're 0 and 2. You need to
Yeah.
relax." Like,
Yeah.
I think you know what I mean? Like I think that curve I've never really heard about that in like a fighting game thing because like those people, granted they're more of a knockout tournament, so very different style, but um I don't know. It's not an easy discussion, but I think it's one that needs to start being had by bigger channels
Mhm.
than just us.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it needs to
Yeah.
be people talking about it and acknowledging that there is good and there is bad to see
It
like
is an interesting take that you have there that, I think we both agree that we don't want it, but it is a very good point that it may not matter. what we want.
Well,
It may
see,
just evolve, right?
I
So
don't even want to say I don't want it. I want it, but I want it in a way that's all positive, no negative.
good luck.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But I don't want to say I don't want it. And I say
Mhm.
that as someone who's probably never going to compete for a cash prize in any way, shape, or form at
Mhm.
Warhammer. Like that's just not how I enjoy that game. But doesn't mean I wouldn't enjoy seeing people compete at that level. And maybe
Yeah.
that'd be a way to make it more thrilling to watch a game. Because
I
let's
mean,
be honest, we
I
watch
mean, to be
we,
fair, I'll sit there and I'll watch the European, or what are we calling it now?
WTC
Yeah,
World
the
Team
champs,
Champs.
right?
Yeah,
Like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, that I've followed on Twitter. I see what's happening. I look to see who's winning what. Like to me,
yeah.
that's great,
Because
great entertainment,
we're rooting for Team
right?
America. Like we're invested.
100%.
Yeah, and like I said, but if you had like a player you were friends with and like they were doing well and you'd want to watch it because like there's something on the line.
Right, right. Yeah.
Excuse me, sorry.
I
Like
mean, I
the
remember watching Bill on the stream playing
flesh eater
playing
courts against
at
the
yeah.
yeah, they
Hmm.
took out the Stormcast dragons. Yeah, that was great. But I
Yeah.
said it gives it'll give people something to be invested in, and even people who aren't competitive. And then there'd be those younger kids seeing that and gets talked
Mhm.
about, and it could help them come into the hobby, could help it grow. Like I said, I see it as a growth potential, but it has to be handled with such care. And
Yeah.
here's the thing: I don't know who would handle that either. Like it would like spitball here real quick here at the end. Um, you have like because like I've always talked about this ever since I did the whole organized the U.S. community thing. There's national, regional, and local level events. National, you got the Adepticon, you got LVO, you have Nova, and now you have the U.S. Open. Below that, you have things like NashCon, um, mid something winter, it's up in Boston. I forget what it.
Mm. I'm not familiar with
I
that
think it
one.
might be midwinter. GT, I think
The
Fabricators Forward.
boys.
Yeah, like you have that stuff. You have the stuff that like you
Yeah.
might drive 6 hours to. Then you have the local stuff, which is just like me to you. Like I'll drive 3 hours to play a tournament
Yeah.
with you, but and maybe that's how you start pacing it out and be like, okay, well, here's these big events, and the big events might have the cash prizes, and if you do well at this regional events, you have early access to buy a ticket for the national. Not that you're guaranteed a ticket, but maybe you get like a bonus towards that because like you're moving up essentially. It's like I said, I don't know the answer, and
Mhm.
I always hate that. I like having a solution to any problems that pop up before I talk about them, but I don't know what the answer would be for this because I don't think one person's going to solve it,
Right.
and I don't think a company like Games Workshop would want to. First off, and
I don't
two, I
think
don't
so.
think we would want them to be in charge of that.
No, no, you wouldn't.
Yeah. Now, if they ran their own circuit, like the U.S. Open, it was like its own thing. They're just like, yeah, prize money for this, but it's just that, and that's all they focused on. I guess, but I don't think that's something they would be interested in, and I don't think it's something we'd be interested in.
Because I think it's there's too many different moving pieces to this what we do. It's not
Right.
all just the game, right? And they're a models company, so they're not a game company. So I couldn't see them doing that.
Right. Right. But yeah, like I said, there is more out there to think about, and probably as soon as I click end recording, we'll think about it. But
Mhm.
hopefully, if you've heard this, like go to the YouTube if you're listening to this on another podcast platform and discuss below because I'm just curious to have this discussion and see it be hashed out by the community because I think
Yeah.
that's where it can only be solved is by our community. And like I said, you're gonna have the voices out there. They're gonna shout it down, but I don't think they're thinking through it fully. But I think their gut instinct has a lot of valid reasons of why they're saying it.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
also like I sorry, anytime I see Rob complain about anything on Twitter, I usually just ignore it because I don't care. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm like, yeah, sure, you do your clickbait nonsense. Have fun. You do you. That's not for me. And I think a lot of people see that a lot, not just for Rob, but like for other people. A lot of people see that in general, and they don't want to engage. But engaging, I think, is where we solve this. And that mutual engagement back and forth, no matter what side you're on, is going to be needed for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Be interesting to see if the discussion starts to be had. So
Yep.
we shall
And
see.
I'm sure this will make people talk about chess clocks some more. Yay! Great. Fucking chess clocks.
Migraines. Okay.
All
Sure.
right. Yeah, short show. It's our 70th. We're not really celebrating anything. We'll celebrate on the 100th when we get there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'll be a big show. We'll get 100 people on. How about that?
One a minute. Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom.
Just hot seat.
Yeah. Just ask some random questions and like cut.
So, what's your favorite color? Okay, move on.
Awesome. All right. Well, Neil, anything on the way out here?
No, I got nothing. As per usual.
Okay. We'll keep it short, keep it simple. Like I said, if you don't hear or see a podcast in the next week or so, since Neil's having to work a lot to support his lovely family and his new cat Rose he's going to be getting, we may take a week off, but we'll be back here soon. So stay tuned and then keep an eye out. I'm going to do other YouTube videos talking about Cities of Sigmar.
Nice.
Yeah, there we go. All right, everybody, happy hopping. Stay Stormcast strong.